Last year, this country spent tens of millions of dollars for food, shelter, clothing, and medical attention for illegal immigrants who are literally attacking this country. But we spend billions of dollars in our budget every year. Here's the difference. Spending on defense, infrastructure, and seniors, that's money that's being spent on Americans. I've been covering the subject of illegal immigration for over 10 years. And there's a recent riot that happened in Chicago that is a prime example of why we need to strengthen our borders. 2 Venezuelan migrants got into a police chase. Once they were apprehended, a mob gathered, and you're not going to guess who they attacked.
Yeah, Micah and Ray, and the area is quiet now, but hours ago it was filled with emotion and anger. Community members say that they came out immediately to defend their community and to also send a message to federal agents that they will not be intimidated. Surveillance video from a neighbor's home captured the moment a federal chase spilled into the streets of Chicago's East Side neighborhood, ending in a crash near 105th Street and Avenue N late Tuesday morning. What started as a pursuit quickly escalated into a tense and emotional scene.
I'm not going to sit here and not do nothing about it.
Within minutes, Skycam 9 was overhead, showing a large crowd surrounding federal agents, shouting questions, recording with their phones, and demanding answers about what had happened. Video from the Citizen app also shows a tense standoff between federal agents and community members. According to CPD, officers and supervisors responded to the area just after 11 a.m. when they realized federal authorities were involved. Police say they attempted to de-escalate tensions, but objects were thrown at the agents, prompting the deployment of tear gas.
I wanted to stop it right here just so you can take a look at something that leapt out at me when I saw this video. Take a look right here where you see the mouse pointer. You see here the Mexican flag, and you see here the Venezuelan flag. Now ask yourself, if you were in another country, in China, Russia, North Korea, if you were in another country, could you riot and hold your American flag in one of those countries? Could you go to Russia or North Korea or China, and then if someone arrested another American, could you and a mob of Americans out there holding your American flags, could you go out there and attack law enforcement in any of those countries? That's where we find ourselves, that we are accepting behavior in this country that would not be accepted anyplace else in the world.
Tensions, but objects were thrown at the agents, prompting the deployment of tear gas.
As the tear gases were thrown toward the community members, we all ran, and they had attacked 2 people that I know because they were the closest near them. So they attacked them and put them into custody.
Destiny, who requested to keep our identity hidden, says the people who were detained are U.S. citizens ages 16 and 19 and that they did not throw anything.
I got a phone call from work saying that they took my son. He's only 16.
Juanita Garnica, visibly shaken, saying through tears that she had been at work when she got the news that Border Patrol agents had taken her son.
They just told me, Juanita, you have an emergency. ICE took your son. They beat him up, they body slammed him, and they took your son.
Keep in mind, they're interviewing this mother and she's talking through the tears saying, oh, they took your son, ICE took your son, they apprehended him, they body slammed him. But this is the same son that ICE was in the car chase with earlier in the video. They had to use the pit maneuver to get them to stop so they could take them from the car. But I want you to remember these 2 young men because they're going to come up in a few seconds.
City officials and immigration attorneys arrived in the aftermath of the incident and say the response by federal agents was excessive.
The judges made it very clear last week that this kind of conduct is unacceptable.
There's absolutely no reason to have this kind of chaos happening in our communities, putting people at risk, putting people in harm's way.
According to DHS, agents chased the vehicle and used a pit maneuver to stop it. They say 2 people inside tried to run but were eventually caught and taken into custody. DHS says in part, quote, this incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of illegal aliens violently resisting arrests and agitators and criminals ramming cars into our law enforcement officers. Now, CPD says that 13 officers were also exposed to the tear gas. While DHS did say that the 2 undocumented people involved in the crash were arrested, they did not say where they were being held or if and how many people were also detained.
So you hear how this story is being covered on local news here in Chicago, and they make these 2 individuals who were apprehended sound sympathetic. The woman did come at the end and at least admit that they were two undocumented individuals. But again, they kind of mentioned that as kind of a footnote. You got the mother crying, you got this entire mob of people who are gathering and they're throwing things at law enforcement, and then tear gas is obviously dispersed because they're trying to get crowd control. But this same story was reported on another network. Let's hear how they talked about it.
Meanwhile, federal agents firing tear gas to break up a violent protest in Chicago.
This standoff in the street happening after two illegal migrants from Venezuela were arrested for allegedly ramming their vehicle into a Border Patrol SUV.
Todd Pyro joins us with more. Todd.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be getting better in the Windy City. Good morning to all three of you. Illinois Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker blasting federal agents for using tear gas to disperse violent crowds of anti-ICE rioters. Pritzker saying, quote, ICE is recklessly throwing tear gas into our neighborhoods and busy streets. The Trump administration must stop their deployment of dangerous chemical weapons into the air of peaceful American communities.
So even in the first report, you hear them talk about how this mob gathered, they're throwing things at law enforcement, and that's what prompted ICE to disperse the tear gas. But when you listen to Governor Pritzker, he's making it sound like, oh, they're dispersing these dangerous chemicals in our neighborhoods. He's leaving out the cause and going to the effect.
Prior to the deployment of the tear gas, Chicago police were trying to de-escalate an anti-ICE mob when people in the crowd began getting violent. Chicago PD confirming the incident, saying, quote, individuals began throwing objects at the federal agents, at which point the federal agents deployed tear gas into the street. Now, this mob began to form after the arrest of two illegal migrants that DHS says rammed their vehicle into a Border Patrol SUV and then attempted to flee the scene. The driver and the passenger involved in the pursuit were Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. The driver, an ICE fugitive, who was ordered to be removed in August of last year. Once the two were taken into custody, that crowd began to form. DHS saying, quote, the incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of illegal aliens violently resisting arrest and criminals ramming cars into our law enforcement officers.
So let's back up for a minute and let's look at the two individuals who were in this car chase with ICE. You've got these two individuals, Luis Ramirez. He was actually deported or ordered removed over a year ago in August of 2024. And then you've got this other young man, Yonder Perez. Both of them are illegal Venezuelan migrants. So the question is, ICE is doing their job. They identified these two individuals, apprehended them, and then got into a car chase, and then they had to do a pit maneuver and they had to take them into custody. And then you've got the mother crying, you got the local Channel 9 News in Chicago trying to make it sound like these are sympathetic individuals. You've got Governor Pritzker admonishing ICE and saying, oh, they're throwing and dispersing chemicals into the neighborhood, all while ignoring the cause of this issue. These two individuals are in the country illegally. That's a crime. ICE is doing their job by apprehending these individuals, then allowing this mob to gather and throw objects at law enforcement. That's putting law enforcement in danger while they are doing their job. I'm really glad to see this expanding and that they're getting more aggressive, because it's letting people know that this is a sovereign country. We are a country of laws, and you cannot just pick and choose which laws you want to obey. You can't just obey the ones that you like and ignore the ones that you don't. And in the case of, like I said, this one migrant, Mr. Luis Ramirez, he was ordered deported over a year ago, and either he got deported and snuck back into the country or disappeared and never left. In either case, he needs to be arrested, he needs to be thrown in jail, and then he needs to be deported back to Venezuela. Let me know what you think. Do you think ICE is going too far, or do you think this is exactly what needs to be happening? Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop a hype, drop a like, get the conversation started down in the comment section. I appreciate you for hanging out this long, and I'll catch you in the next one.